Welcome back to Punch Drunk Nerd, the podcast where three friends, three amigos, three bambinos get together to talk about nerd shit. I'm your host for tonight, Miguel Sanchez, and with me is...
Ed Bull.
That's right, we are one nerd down. Luis Gonzalez is not here this week. He is getting ready for Comic-Con in San Diego, so shout out to him. And thank God he's on our podcast. We will get content.
Follow us to see what he'd be posting. He's getting that inside scoop.
You know what? If we're going to start off strong talking about social media, let's first off plug. You guys can follow us at Punch Drunk Nerd on all platforms, basically, okay? Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook even.
YouTube.
Threads. You're going to want to watch us on YouTube. You're going to want to listen on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. But if we're talking about social media, can I talk about something big for a second? I'm sorry. Am I coming on loud?
No. Okay. I feel your passion. Go.
Can I talk about a big achievement we have? We've just recently reached a milestone for our tiny little baby podcast. And I want to shout it out big and loud. Okay. So we recently hit 1 million followers. No.
I was like, we have?
What? No. Guys, Luis posted a TikTok last week. It was in preparation for Twisters. He went to a movie theater and he got in one of those Twister booths, where they did the wind in the booth, like at an arcade. You guys, this is a big deal for us. Our TikTok hit 200,000 views in a week. Okay. Within a day, it was already at 100,000. That is insane. That is numbers for us. Okay. I think like our highest rated one up until then was like 25,000 views, which is also really big.
Which is another Luis post, I'm sure.
We love Luis on this podcast. Okay.
He's a handsome devil.
He sure is. Every time he shows his face, the numbers go up. It's weird how that happens.
The man looks good in a Twister, you know. Put him
and
in
he's always got
a natural disaster. Oof.
Oh, God. Great. I tell you what, it's Glenn Powell season right now, but Luis can be in the next one, okay?
He's our own Glenn Powell.
He is
like
our own Glenn Powell.
That beautiful grin of his, like, contagious. You're just like, oh,
he's always got a fresh-ass haircut. You know what I'm saying? Like, he looks good.
Like, of all of us, let's admit, Luis is the cleanest cut, but... yeah, shout out.
Just so you know that even when Luis is not on our podcast, he still edits our episodes, so that's why we're being super nice right now.
Exactly.
You know what? You know who's the king of the podcast is probably Luis, right? He's the reason we're here. We're so glad we have him, okay? You know what another kingdom that's shining recently?
Yeah, Miguel, let me ask you, are you familiar with the concept of evolution?
Ooh.
Miguel, our favorite movie of the summer, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
We were talking about this a couple of months back. Who would have thought it had the legs that it did in the box office? But here it is. One of our favorite movies, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, is they announced is coming to Disney Plus on August 2nd.
Just in time for what, baby?
Your birthday and Sarah's birthday.
And Sarah, shout out Sarah. Leo's.
If you guys are true fans of this podcast, you know that this is the time of year that I'm like absolutely broke.
Just, not because of me, though. Not because of me.
No, but like also my parents.
Emotionally
both of whom's Leos. Like the 4 dearest people in my life are all Leos.
That's right.
It's a fucking nightmare. Never.
It was planned by the universe. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Libras
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
No,
yeah, they should, and fuck them. Actually,
asterisks. Fuck Libras.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, all that to say, that's a long way to say. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes will be on Disney Plus.
Disney,
August 2nd.
And you know what? In a summer where movies were shoved to streaming, like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after release. It's kind of wild that Apes has like lasted this long. Now, I'm sure it's out of theaters already, but it's like the fact that
barely, because that movie just like
it kept going.
It just kept making money. Yeah, it was like it opened strong,
and it was like
going.
a strong movie for early summer too. You know what I mean? Like Furiosa came out and bombed. Fall Guy came out and bombed. But Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes put butts in seats.
It did. It was it was a weird little phenomenon where like people, I guess, were ready to continue this story and didn't realize how ready they were, I guess. But because nobody was talking about it. Nobody was talking about it beforehand.
No. I mean, where I put it on my list, I think it was like 5. I think I put it on 5.
In your box office?
Yeah.
But you had it higher than me and Luis.
Yeah.
We severely underestimated.
Well, I thought it was gonna hit like, I don't even remember what the actual number is. We'll get to the numbers in a second, but I thought it was gonna be like a solid, like middle ground box office hit. And it's been kind of surprising what the top ones are this summer. And we'll get to that in just a second. But shout out Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes Disney Plus subscription.
I'm excited. I can't wait to see that one again.
Same here.
Speaking of summer movie blockbusters,
baby,
we're going to be talking about Twisters later, but obviously we have to talk about how it made an impact on the box office this year. Yeah, and it did pretty well. Sorry, I had to pour some water for this dog before he lost his mind.
Ed, the amount of liquid you pour while you're recording our podcast is insane. It almost makes me feel like you just do that all the time, you know?
Yeah. I'm just constantly pouring around the house.
You're just constantly leaking water.
Here's one for my homies. Here's one for the dogs.
And one for the apes. All right?
One for the apes. Twisters came in with a bit of a bang. It opened to the sound of $81 million its opening weekend, which I think we were all...
God.
The feeling of this movie kind of just automatically had us feeling like, yeah, this movie might actually make money.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's disappointed. It's already surpassed the domestic box office of Furiosa, as we said. It came in with $81 million, which is pretty great.
And you know what I tell you? Like, normally it's IMAX pushing these numbers. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I'm just I'm spitballing here. But the theater that's really doing it for people for this movie is the fucking 4DX theater. Yeah. Like, I can't believe how many people I hop on the internet and people are like, you got to go see it in 4DX. I was just telling you guys last night, I looked it up. Like, this weekend, I'm traveling out of town. But this weekend also upcoming is Deadpool and Wolverine. So all of the premium formats are pushing over to Deadpool. So I'm not even going to get a chance to see that in RDX. And so 4DX, excuse me. And I was
kind of looking Deadpool in 4DX?
No. Twisters. I was looking forward to maybe going back and seeing Twisters again.
I got
and seeing it in 4DX with the rain and everything. It just seems like the perfect movie. And that's why I was telling you guys they should bring that one back, because it's just like printing. It's free money. You know what I mean? Like,
sure, yeah.
People are going to want to come to that because it's an attraction on its own. Plus, the ladies love Glenn Powell. Okay, so he's
they like the Glenn Powell. Yeah, he some of the guys.
He's twisting up something. All right,
he's oozing charisma.
I tell you what, after this, it's solidified. It's Glenn Powell season, and he's about to be in every fucking movie. Okay, but he's also young Tom Cruise. He's like the Tom Cruise protege. We'll talk about Twisters in a minute. I don't want to get too far into it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, Ed, if you could give us just a quick update, and then do you have the answer of where we're standing? Because I can pull it up real quick. Do you know our standing?
Like where me, you, and Luis rank? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm clearly in last place, but only by 1 point, Miguel.
I was going to say, don't even act like boo-hoo me. You and I are a 1 point difference right now.
I was going to say, we are at a 1 point difference, and...
Oh, it's actually gone up. No, you're winning right now.
No way.
Yeah. I just checked the updated numbers.
Yeah, 32-29. Hey.
Okay, see, I told you. It was a race for second place.
Well, here, I will say, like, once Deadpool comes out, that's going to shift A Quiet Place and Bad Boys to
those are
a sweet spot for me. However, it's
but if Kingdom goes down 1, that was the spot I had it in, so I'll get 10 points for that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think. So Real quick, just to give a quick number. I'm sorry, I don't mean to step on your bit.
No,
but Luis is clearly winning. He's at 40 points as of today's recording. 40 points. You're at 32. I'm at 29. Previously, earlier this week, it was a 1 point difference between you and me.
28 and 29.
Yeah,
sure.
and that's what it was, I think, last week as well. I think you were ahead by 1.
Yep.
So I feel like you and I are going to do the dance, and that's going to be the interesting thing of the season. Luis has already won, okay?
He's comfortable. He had the right movies. In the right spots.
For someone who's banked on these animated movies and has lost, he did it again this season, and it's paying off.
Paying off 100%
dividends.
Yeah.
So he made some good choices.
Yeah. I think we all had Despicable Me pretty high, but I don't think any of us predicted how well Inside Out 2 was going to do.
The updated number
even with Deadpool and Wolverine, I don't think that's going to change much. I don't think that movie can do as well as Inside Out.
Well, they're saying Deadpool is going to get, I think, worldwide box office. We're talking domestic. I think worldwide, I just read today, it's going to hit over 300 million opening weekend. So
I could see that.
Deadpool,
totally.
Especially with word of mouth, depending on how word of mouth goes, I could see Deadpool knocking Inside Out down 1 peg. But it would be pretty tough because Inside Out 2 is sitting at $600 million domestic. We only go off domestic numbers here on this podcast. That is insane. It's what do you know what the worldwide number is the last time you looked at it?
No, it was like 1.5 billion.
It was like 1.5 billion.
Officially this week, it is the highest grossing animated movie of all time.
I just never would have guessed that that's what was happening, but I'm definitely going to learn from this as we move forward. I don't think obviously it's not every animated, but it's just like the way that it was positioned. It had been 10 plus years. The way they like we talked about the movie, but like she aged up a certain amount, and so it was like the young kids that grew up and the adults that were taking their kids to see it. There was an audience there, and I just think that's like. That cannot be overlooked in the future for planning the movie wager.
With Pixar numbers too, I think we completely underestimated it.
Yeah,
but you know what? I'm glad for it too because it's not one of those movies that's undeserving by any means. I'm glad to see it do so well. But
did you had Deadpool number 1, didn't you?
I did.
Okay, so that's the thing. Yeah, what did Luis have?
He had Deadpool 2.
Yeah, you both have Deadpool. So that's what I knew going on, kind of when I saw the summer first getting going. I was like, okay, if Deadpool obviously comes in as hot as they say it's going to, there's really no chance for me to get really any higher than I currently am. My standing will raise, but I'll never really kind of bridge that gap. So
sure.
I think what we're looking at is basically the end of the summer, but let's see. We'll see how it goes.
We got this one. We got Alien Romulus. And then I feel like there's one other kind of big release between now and then, but I'm blanking on maybe.
Oh, that's interesting because I have Alien Romulus kind of low, and that's playing the late in the summer kind of chances, right? Because like the end of the summer, you have less of a chance to get more money. So maybe that'll help.
Just so as proven without this throughout this summer is that like even if it does make say 50. Its opening weekend, even 30 has a chance at breaking into that top 10 within those couple of weeks.
Kind of where I need it to be is towards the bottom of that 10.
Again, so depending on the reception, word of mouth, especially for that movie, a lot depends on the positive feedback. I think because people are also probably as skeptical as we are as far as aliens movies go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But it's it'll be interesting to see. I think
Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean I do genuinely think everything else is kind of like a question mark. Alien Romulus, we have Borderlands, and then maybe The Crow, but those are kind of really that's it for the big releases.
Deadpool's going to be the big one upcoming. You know?
100%.
I tell you what, Ed, can you give us as we stand currently today as at our recording? Can you give us the top 10 of where we're at?
Okay. And I'm going off of Luis's list here, so I'm including the ones that we didn't bank on, right?
Sure.
All right, so top 10. At Number 10 is Furiosa with 67 million. The Garfield movie, 91. The Fall Guy, 92. Twisters, currently sitting at 103. If, 111. A Quiet Place, Day 1, 129. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is at 170. At number 3 is Bad Boys Ride or Die
Another
at
one.
189.
Mhm.
Despicable Me 4 is at number 2 with 269. And Inside Out number 2 at 600 million. $969,000 at number 1 there. And, I think that is safe.
Yeah, I mean, it's only going to go down one spot at most. It is most likely if it could
I'm calling it right now. I don't think Deadpool and Wolverine can meet that domestically. Will it do better worldwide? Maybe, but domestically, I don't think it's going to hit that.
I think Deadpool. I don't know. I think it could be the one, but we'll see. All right. You guys, if you go to...
I'm going to bet it right now. I think domestically, Deadpool will land between 300 and 400 million domestic.
But bigger worldwide, do you think?
Yeah, sure. But still not as big as Inside Out 2.
You think Inside Out 2, number 1 movie of the year?
Yeah.
You should. If only you had thought about that 3 months ago.
Touche.
You're like, I could call it now. Yeah, at the end of the summer. Yeah, we'll call it. Okay?
It's already lost. Yeah.
No, if you guys want to go see our standings, we have a link in our bio on our Instagram. Okay. We have 2 links. You can click it. You can either go to our summer movie wager, or you can go to our YouTube and check out other clips of our show. Also, just last little thought about social media while we're talking about it. You guys know what the drill. Please like, subscribe. It really helps our channel. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere where you get your podcast. Please leave a 5-star review. We'd love it. Or fucking leave a 1-star review and really rip into us if that's your thing too. Like and subscribe on YouTube, and that's socials. We're donesies, okay?
Donesies.
I think we're about to get into our feature discussion.
Twisters.
I tell you what, we're going to talk Twisters, but out of respect, I feel like we can't talk Twisters without at least talking the original just a little bit, okay?
Which I did just see for the first time.
I'm going to do my Trumpians. Well, okay, that's why we're bringing it up, okay? Ed, you saw Twister for the first time recently. Obviously, the rest of the world hasn't seen it for the first time this year. You fucking idiot. We grew up with it.
Yep.
I
grew up around it. I just never saw it.
Like, around it? Sarah made you watch it. God bless her. Thank God. What did you think about it? It was obviously a 2 thumbs up.
It was a 2 thumbs, like, middle... It was mid, man. It was mid. I mean, it just like...
Man,
it definitely...
No, let's fight right now, okay?
It definitely hit those, like, 90 disaster movies. Like, last year, you recall, you won the box office.
Okay, all right.
You talked about Deep Impact. It is definitely of that era. Yeah.
Well, I think we were just making Deep Impact sound better.
Like,
so good.
Goddamn, of course they like ham-fist a romance story into it. To its credit, it like gets to the point. It doesn't fuck around. It's brief, which this new movie certainly is not. Which we'll get into. But yeah, definitely of its era, a little underwhelming.
Nope.
I had no affection for it, really.
You had, yeah, I know, and I've said this before. This is, our therapy. I just feel like there's a certain like nostalgia factor on some movies from the 90s that you just were not privy to. You know what I mean? Not privy. That sounds whatever. Not like you were gatekept from it, but it's just like you just weren't into those things.
Again, I grew up around the Twisters. Or Twister.
See, here's the deal. you didn't grow up in an area as a child, right? When that movie came out, you didn't grow up in an area where you had to worry about tornadoes, right?
Exactly.
I was like, kind of like when you watch a Looney Tunes cartoon and they get stuck in quicksand and you're like, fuck, I hope I never come across some quicksand. That's how I felt about tornadoes, right? Like we were like, my mom would be like, well, we're kind of in Tornado Alley. I'd be like, the fuck did you just say? What? Every time it like thundered outside, like, I'd be like, it's coming.
That's like even like Independence Day is like nobody ever invades England, you know?
Right? They didn't blow up the Buckingham Manor or whatever.
Exactly. Like they didn't have the giant spaceship over Buckingham Palace or you know, Big Ben. No, they chose to have it in Washington, in New York, in Los Angeles. Yeah. Like forget about the rest of the world.
I get it. It's just not. It's not your bag, man.
As far as I can, you know. Yeah, iconic as that, but
no, I tell you what, as a child it traumatized me. As an adult I loved it.
With that said,
tell me,
this movie did not hesitate to bring a British person and throw him into the scenario, which massive eye roll, I guess, to me.
Are you talking about Twisters, the sequel?
No, I'm talking about Twisters, but I don't think there was a British person in Twister.
In the first one. No, I was like, hang on a second. He's talking about the new one, okay?
Right.
All right. Well, I tell you what. I just wanted to hear your initial thoughts about the first movie.
I mean,
everyone else has seen this movie.
Throwaway words like, I mean, I love Helen Hunt, but like...
What about Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Great.
That's right. That's the answer.
I was just like, this was before like Paul Thomas Anderson really kind of kicked in his like dramatic... This was like the goofy Philip Seymour Hoffman era before he suddenly...
Someone I saw on Twitter or something where they were like, they so clearly wrote that role for Jack Black. And he didn't do it for whatever reason. And Philip Seymour Hoffman was like, well, fuck it. I can do it.
You know what I mean? Best Jack Black impression. And it's like he did that kind of thing for that Ben Stiller movie.
Yeah, yes. Can we talk about food in movies for a second? Did you feel
food?
Did you feel that in that moment? Were you like, yes, give me that steak? And then
you know what? When they served up those steaks, I was like, that does look like a good steak. I want that steak.
Those look kind of good, right? And they make that quip about how like, oh, we fucking butchered our own cow after we already saw the cow flying in the tornado too.
Oh man, let me say, I was surprised at how early that cow came. I was just like, oh, midway through? Wow.
You know how we have that rule? Cards here. You know how we have that rule in our house where you got to get, the movie has 10 minutes to capture us or we have to change it? They knew what they were doing in the 90s, okay? They were like, no, throw it immediately, okay? Because otherwise they'll walk out.
It doesn't fuck around. I'll give it credit. It doesn't fuck around. It dives right into the action.
Yeah.
To where you almost like, I went into it thinking like the Twister was going to be the cataclysmic
big
event.
Thing.
Yeah. Nope. But no, it just happens throughout.
There's Twisters.
It's like, welcome to Oklahoma.
Right.
So same with this new one. But I just thought that was
okay. Well, we don't have to overtalk. We don't have to talk the first one.
Right.
We saw Twisters, okay? And I have some thoughts, but I want to hear yours, okay?
All right.
It seems like you were It seemed like you were like not rushing to go see this movie.
I wasn't, well, especially after your initial reaction, which I considered genuine. But like immediately you said, not as good as the first one. And then I saw the first one, and then I was like, well, now I'm less excited.
But I tell you what, I feel like I'm in the minority about this, though.
I mean, maybe, but they're both. I mean, to the point.
We're talking spoilers of Twisters, by the way.
Yeah.
Before we get into it, if you don't want to hear it, jump down, and then you can see the next segment, which will probably be just us saying goodbye.
Go see Twisters and come back and listen to this part. So going into it, I thought the opening was very gripping. Like the opening 10 minutes, super gripping. It captures your attention, but also captures that kind of essence of the first movie. Yes. It definitely, this movie doesn't try to steer away, but also kind of honors that 90s summer blockbuster tradition.
But it didn't feel like it was. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It doesn't feel like it's just copying those beats, other than the opening where they're like, we have to have kind of a traumatic event as the opening of the movie.
Right.
But it's not like they were like, now we need to, they didn't throw a cow around in a twister in this one. You know what I mean?
At least in this one, it was more character driven, the trauma that we experienced. The first one, the opening sequence, as far as I recall, is not, nobody's related to that family, right?
What? Are you serious right now?
Wait, baby, whose family is it?
That little girl is Helen Hunt.
Oh, and is that her aunt?
Yes. Are you serious?
Woo!
Unless I'm wrong. I would love for the last 30 years of my life to be wrong and someone to be like, no, Miguel, that's not right. I've always interpreted that is Helen Hunt as a little girl, and that's why she's so passionate about
I just thought that was like, that was kind of like a Jurassic Park instance where you get a taste. Yeah. Exactly. You did exactly what I meant. And considering Steven Spielberg is the producer on this film, I 100% believe it.
Now you got me questioning it. I have to look it up later. Guys, let us know in the comments down below. Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure that's Helen Hunt as a little girl. I'm going to go wake Kristen up in a second and ask her, too, and to be like, did you think that was Helen Hunt as a child?
Genuine, because it felt so much of the... Okay, so look, the woman in that opening sequence, her character is called Mrs. Thornton, and the dad is called Mr. Thornton, but Helen Hunt's last name in this movie is Harding.
Oh, fuck me. Okay, I will say this. I did see this as a child, and that's how I formed my whole view about watching this movie. Okay, I was like, obviously that's Helen Hunt, because she's blonde, right?
Well, okay. Oh, man. Okay, but there is a Joe Harding, age 6. So maybe...
Okay, so it's like her parents eventually die, and her aunt is the one that like raises her, right?
Yeah.
Like the dad dies in the tornado, the mom dies of a heart attack. Boom.
Okay, but see, the aunt that we meet, who's the cook, who cooks all the steaks and shit.
Yeah.
Her name is Meg Green, so completely unrelated to that story.
Oh, you're kind of right.
So I don't know. Hey,
I don't know now. Let us know down in the comments. Okay?
What your thoughts are.
You got a point. You got a point for socials. You got a point. Let us know down in the comments.
That was the thing. That opening sequence is what they used for the teaser trailer. But the trailer is way like flashier, like a lot of flashy cuts to build
the
up
original
tension.
movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let me tell you, it's super obnoxious. Even Sarah said so. But anyway, going to this movie, okay.
I will say,
I said this was true of the 90s summer blockbuster, and I stand by that. I'm super glad that they don't lean hard on the romance like the first movie did.
Did you see the thing?
For that. I felt the effects were pretty good overall. I do feel like by the final act, the movie has kind of overstayed its welcome and played all of its cards to where the climactic action sequence kind of just felt overplayed by the time it came around. It was probably about 15, 20 minutes too long.
A little too long? Interesting.
A little too long.
I thought the pacing was kind of okay. I hear what you're saying about overplaying your hand. I hadn't thought about that because like they have that whole barn scene where they're like, you can kill a tornado if you have the right math or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, it would have been nice to just kind of see them do it without saying so much. You know what I mean? Because her driving into the tornado was kind of like the moment of the movie.
Exactly.
Right. And it would have been nice to not quite know if it was going to work or not. I don't know.
There are so many action sequences per se in this movie to where by the time we get to that final one, it doesn't feel as impactful, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's what's hard about, like Alien to Aliens. right? It's like add more aliens, more you know what I mean? And it's going to be scarier. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be this and that.
Yeah.
But when you're like, let's add more twisters, it's like, well, there was already kind of a lot of twisters in the first movie.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of like, I already think twisters are scary. I don't, it's like you can't ramp up the you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then when like the disaster hits a town, then they kind of play these like not superheroes, obviously, but then they're like, let's go help the town. And it was kind of like, I don't know. I think it's more
reveling in it, or you're
trying
to avoid it, which I guess is the main conflict here, or that they're trying to,
that's the theme of the movie, right? Like
exactly.
They're like,
it's a little. See, that's the thing for a movie like this, like a quote unquote natural disaster movie where you're just kind of chasing the spectacle of it, literally. It gets a little too plot heavy, and you just don't need it. You know what I mean? You guys know, our loyal listeners will know, I am a trained veteran in movie seeing, and I don't go to the restaurant much. But this movie, about halfway through, whenever she got like the scenes between her and her mum, I was
that's when you went.
I was just like, I know where this is going. Like, and sure
That's
enough,
hilarious.
by the time I came back, that same scene was still going on, and I was funny. Just like, I don't think I missed anything at all.
I saw this movie with Eric Jew, our loyal listener. Okay, shout out. Okay, he's in Denver right now, so I went and saw it with him. And that scene when they were in the barn, and all of a sudden Glenn Powell shows up, and he's like, "I'm here now." We both looked at each other, kind of like, "Are you serious right now?" Like, because in the story, he had already fucked off somewhere else, and she was like, "I'm going home to mom. I'm kind of like the character was like, I'm recentering myself. I'm getting back to my roots. I'm like figuring out what's going on because she's dealt with all this trauma. Let's recenter." And then all of a sudden, Glenn Powell's like, "Hey, I'm hot,
and I'm here.
I'm here." And and the mom is like, "He can stay." I'm like, "Okay, I get it. I get it." No, overall, I'll give my honest opinion just real quick.
You haven't given you...
The only reason I bring up the 40X earlier is because people are really talking about how exciting that movie is when they see it in 40X, because it's like the seat rumbles, they're spraying you with water, and it's like this big whole thing. But I'm going to be real. I saw this movie. We're almost done, babe.
Dolby?
I saw this movie in Dolby, which is a great format. Don't get me wrong.
I believe Luis recommended it, right?
I just never thought, and I wish he was here this week because he also saw it in 40X. I want to hear his
a new one.
I just never felt excited by this movie. I never really felt like any of the stakes were really all that high. It did kind of feel formulaic, which I'm worried because Glenn Powell is in this like Tom Cruise school of acting right now, right? And storytelling. And he's like, I don't want to, he's been quoted saying something along the lines of like, I don't want to push the audience to like some sort of spectrum. I just want us all to feel the movie. Right. And it's like, Top Gun was kind of generic as far as Maverick was like the bad guys and the stakes. It was really honed in. And it's like, you can't always do that with a big disaster movie. Like there has to be stakes. It can't just be neutral. Although, I mean, it's clear like people are getting butts in seats for this Glenn Powell. Like he's selling seats. That's okay. I get it. But I just felt it was a little by the numbers,
Yeah. No, I definitely felt that way. I do feel like they kind of leaned into the spectacle. I feel like the visuals genuinely did look good. And like I mentioned earlier, I felt like the initial 10 minutes was very gripping. I thought they did a good job at establishing the characters' motivations, without being hokey. Because, again, in the original one, we were really kind of thrown in there. Like, we knew, like, yes, here be the land of twisters and tornadoes, and
which also exists. Okay,
this
is not like some fake thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and like the play on like the Wizard of Oz and all of that is like very tongue in cheek, but also just very, like there is a tornado season in these parts of America or across the world, even, I'm sure. But it is. I think it plays to that nicely. Like I said, it feels like a '90s blockbuster, not necessarily in a bad way. I just think it.
You're saying it kind of captures that glimmer of
it captures
the 90s.
That essence. You don't have to take it too seriously. You get the motivations, and like I said, that opening sequence establishes that.
I'm sorry, you keep mentioning the opening sequence.
Yeah,
I do kind of want to. I want to talk about that just for a second.
And again, spoilers for anybody who hasn't heard it.
So, if we're comparing the two movies, I grew up, like I said, with the first one. I thought that first movie opening sequence was so traumatic. Again, I saw it as a kid. The idea of like rushing to the bunker outside, the dad gets sucked up into the tornado, trying to like hold the door shut. Like that's pretty traumatic. Okay, especially like through the eyes of a child. You know.
Yeah.
I felt like this was the only time they were trying to capture the essence of that first movie, because they run to the overpass. He gets sucked away from her. That's where that vibe was. I'll tell you this though. The opening scene of that movie, there's like 5 characters that have not been in any of the trailers. You know what I mean? And I immediately was like, oh, okay.
Every single one.
Got it. All right. You're going to live and everyone else is going to die.
And actors that you recognize instantly, but you would be just like, why didn't they promote these people?
It's weird that I haven't seen your face before.
Yeah. And one or two where I questioned, I was like, well, it just probably didn't show up. Because we'll talk about another character who didn't show up in any of the marketing. But at the same time, quickly establishes like a relationship with these characters.
Mm-hmm.
The build up to that overpass moment, like driving in the car in that kind of second person scenario where you've got shit flowing at the glass and you can't see anything. Like that was kind of intense. And then
also very 90s, you know what I mean? Where they're like every little thing we do is setting up something we're going to see later.
Mm-hmm.
That truck in that moment didn't survive. What's going to happen later? You know what I mean?
Right.
They're going to drill that bitch into the ground. It's gonna it's gonna survive.
Yeah.
Dorothy. This was like one of the only moments where they reference the first movie. They have a Dorothy machine.
And thank God I watched it before I saw this one. Otherwise, I'd been like,
I bet you would have been like, "Fuck me."
Yeah. Wizard of Oz, wanky.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, no, I got it, and but yeah. I think it added to the dramatic effect of it all. I thought, generally speaking, like I got the motivations of most of the characters, but like I said, it just got a little too plot heavy as it went on, and it kind of developed its own kind of loop of just like, here comes the tornado, let's go help the people, let's exposition to the next.
I thought it was, first off, I liked the pace of this movie. I also liked how they kind of organically brought her over to the other side.
Yeah.
And they didn't vilify the main guy that she was with at the beginning of like when she first, like the guy comes out, the guy from Hamilton.
Anthony
comes
Ramos,
out,
right?
Yes. He comes out and is like, listen, you're so good at what you do. I've got this team, like, come help us. And I thought they were going to do the thing because obviously their team, this is the other thing that mirrored the first movie. Their team is like the Carrie, what's his name? The guy from Princess Bride who was in Twister.
Carrie Eulis.
They were like his team.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
The
of this movie.
Functioning.
Yes. Yeah. And so I kind of thought they were going to be like, and then we're going to do it from this angle and make them the good guys. And I kind of liked how they brought her over to the other side.
Yeah.
And Anthony Ramos as well. And actually, if we're going to talk about their team for a second, there's someone in this movie that, what the fuck?
What the fuck, indeed.
What the fuck?
Miguel, I went to this theater last night and they introduced this character who I've already forgotten the name of, but he's like the stooge
who gives a fuck about his name, right?
Right.
If this was the only movie he was in, you would forget about him tomorrow. Yeah.
But he's like the company stooge, working alongside Anthony Ramos's character. And sure enough, my first instinct was like, is that? And then moments later, I was just like, yeah, that's definitely David Corenswet, our future Superman in the upcoming James Gunn film that we've been talking so much about. I had no idea he was in this film.
He's in fucking Twisters, dude. And he's like the scummy bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's like the bad guy of the movie.
Yeah, basically. He's like,
Man.
like I said, the stooge. And, I mean, but like, the whole time, as soon as I realized that it was him, sure enough, I'm analyzing.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, yeah, he's a good-looking guy. He's got those, like, boyishly blue eyes and whatever. They just kind of dressed him up like an asshole at these pictures. And
they give him some like deplorable ass lines, right? Like towards the end, he's like, I don't give a fuck about those people. We have a job to do. Right? That's like the whole theme of the movie. I'm surprised he didn't have a tornado rip him in half in this movie, to be honest. Like, that would have been...
I thought he was going to be impaled on something. Or
right, and
whatever.
you're like, oh shit, anyway, bye.
Yeah, but no, he couldn't do that to Superman. Yeah, I know.
No, it is kind of wild. I knew before going into the movie that he was in it only because the day before I went to go see it, he posted on Instagram, guys, I love Twisters. I was so happy to be a part of it. Yeah. And it was like,
I bet you were, bro. I bet you were. Yeah, it's just funny. It's funny coinciding that they're not like, I mean, I get it because he's playing that.
He's the bad guy. And it's also kind of like, you remember, what was that movie where Kevin Spacey was like, don't put my name in the credits. I want to like, because he was the bad guy of the movie. It was like Usual Suspects or no.
7?
What was that? 7. Yes. Yeah. Where they were like, we don't want Kevin Spacey. He was like, I don't want to be in the main credits because they'll be looking for me in the movie. You know what I mean? It's like, but that wasn't him. It was like some agent was like, it's okay. We're going to promote Superman anyway. He'll be fine.
We didn't need this like bad light on him.
I did just in general, I did kind of think this movie fell a little flat, and I think it was because of expectations. But then I hop online and people are clearly loving this movie, so it's kind of my own bullshit.
There was a little bit of this element of overhype. Especially again after I saw the first movie, and then getting your kind of initial reaction.
Yeah,
it dwindled my expectations, so that was probably a good thing going into it. I didn't have like heightened expectations.
Yeah. Bless you, and bless everyone on this podcast.
But also Lee Isaac Chung, the director, previously directed Minari. The 2020 Best Picture nominee. So this was like a interesting second project for him. Post that movie.
Someone was commenting on the fact that like indie movie directors, taking on these big budget movies next, like that can work out. I feel like, especially if it's like,
did actually. I think this was a successful marriage.
When you
think
those
things,
when you think about Marvel, sorry, go ahead.
No. I just felt like he captured. I definitely felt like he captured the essence.
He understood
of what Twister was as a 90s movie.
Yeah.
And I think that reflects not only in the action sequences, especially kind of like in that last action sequence in the movie theater and everything, but also in kind of like the relationship, though he did the opposite of what they did in the first movie, or rather he just kind of played with it a little more to where they don't have to show you everything. They don't have to show you the guy and the girl kissing at the end of the movie and making up, you know what I mean?
I'm sorry, I was going to bring this up earlier. Sorry, real quick. Did you hear that rumor? No, I don't know if it's a rumor is the right word. Did you hear that soundbite where apparently Steven Spielberg read the script? Was this movie?
Yeah.
Where he read the script and he was like, I don't think they need to kiss in this movie.
Yeah, I did hear that.
and they cut that. I kind of love that because it's like, we get it. They're hot. They want to fuck, but we don't need to see it. You know what I mean?
You watch the trailer, that's all you're going to guess. Right?
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
That they're going to hook up at the end of it, or
and then it's like, maybe they don't. You know what I mean? Maybe that's not our business. They're going to go off and twist themselves. Yeah. It's fine.
But they play with it too. Yeah. It's not like saying like, no, they're just not suited for one another. No,
it's like no, they want to.
There's like a mutual attraction there, obviously.
Yeah.
They don't have to give it all on screen, and I appreciated that. And
it's show don't tell,
fun, especially like the last scene between them.
Yeah,
as like it's just playful, good-natured fun.
Yeah,
and
I tell you what, the end of the movie when he grabs her hand and they walk out of that airport, I was like, that sold a second viewing for a lot of people. I bet. You know what I mean? Yeah. They said, let's watch this movie again.
Yeah, I mean, if Glenn Powell had a moment where he took his shirt off in this movie,
oh, babe, I read a tweet. I read a tweet where this picture was like the scene where he's like walking out of the house and it's raining and he's about to get in the car, like the night
that tight white shirt,
in the white shirt or whatever. I read a tweet where this guy was like, the lady next to me said, "Can we rewind this scene?" And that's kind of the vibe. Is like, okay, it's like it's sexy, it's fun, it's got all the things without
nonchalant.
It never crosses that line of being too much, and that's what sells this movie.
There's that sexual tension.
The whole idea of this like indie director to the big script. It's like what I was gonna say earlier is like Marvel is so big on like, we want to get this director, but we want them to do what we want to do. You know what I mean? It has to be this thing. Absolutely. And it's like, there's something to be learned here of like, give someone that room to give a nod to the original or the source, but also kind of make it their own thing, you know?
Like play with the staples of the genre, you know?
Yeah. Like and that's what makes it fun, because otherwise it's like, humdrum, boring, here we are.
Exactly. You know? Well, and, you know, in an age where we expect these kind of mediocre follow-ups to classics of our, you know, our early lives, that always feel subpar. You know, especially of this ilk, like Independence Day 2, you know, where it was like a lot of hype, but then a huge letdown.
And did you ever see that one?
I didn't. But
I didn't either. We're just talking.
I had enough. But yeah, but it's that kind of thing where you go into it kind of wary and you wonder, like, why are we doing this? You know, it's just like name recognition, and to a certain extent it is. But like what you're saying is like they've clearly kind of let Isaac Chung bring in his own take on the story, and I think it pays off pretty well for the most part. I think there's maybe a overabundance of, like I said, plot that could have been stripped down incredibly. But overall, it's still made for, like, I wasn't angry, or I didn't feel like shorthanded leaving this movie, you know? I was entertained, certainly. By the end, it was like teetering on overstaying its welcome. Especially kind of in the third act going into that final action sequence. But I was invested in the characters. The action scenes, for what it's worth, were gripping and well shot. And some incredible visuals as far as like the nature shots and the storms building up in the sky kind of thing. And I thought they made the most of that, and I appreciated that. I feel like, especially if the antagonist is like a tornado, you want to make the most of that visually.
Yeah.
Without exploiting it, I guess. But
agreed.
Ahead, sorry.
I think the CGI, like the upgrade for this franchise, was nice. Yes. This is not a movie that I think we need to have a sequel to. You know what I mean? We get it. We got it. In 10, 15, 20 years, they want to do another one? Sure.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Twisters, I had a good time. Is this one that I'm going to go watch again? Yes. because I'm trying to take my wife to go see it. Okay, she wants to see it. But
biggest regret is not being able to take Sarah to it, who is very fond of the original.
Yeah, it's kind of wild she didn't go.
I feel bad about it. Trust me. I was like, the fact that you can't go and I have to go makes me feel so shit.
Yeah.
But such as it is, it wasn't, like I said, I've seen worse movies this year. Absolutely. It was entertaining.
Name one worst movie this year.
Madame Web.
Okay.
Done.
That's fair. That was the worst movie of the year. Listen, it's a short episode this week, but we are recording kind of late, so I feel like we need to kind of put a button on it. All right.
Yeah.
This was Twisters. Go see it. Deadpool's coming out this week. We're going to talk about that next week. I think we're going to have a special guest jumping on and coming and seeing it. Ed, did you have anything you were into this week? Do you want to?
We don't have to talk about it. We, same old. We're keeping up with House of the Dragon, but it feels like the more special episodes are coming soon. So, Eric, forgive us for not talking about it too much.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to say, but also not a lot to say. But we're coming into the final 2 episodes, so I feel like we're gonna have
we're gonna have content. We'll probably have Steven on. Well, and shout out Eric. We're probably gonna have him on at some point because Penguin, the TV show, is coming out soon. And I talked to him this weekend. He's interested in letting us know a little bit about that show.
Yeah, you know how much I'm invested into that world of Batman. So I'm gonna have a lot of questions.
I can't wait to talk about it. I did ask him a couple things, and he was a little coy about it. And I was like, okay. He was like, I'm telling you the truth. And I was like, sure, Jan.
You keep your secrets.
Okay.
Well, next week we are expecting Luis back.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to do Deadpool. Yeah, and a special guest, potentially. We'll see.
Miguel, when are you seeing Deadpool?
I'm going to try to see it. So I'm going out of town this weekend. So I'm going to try to see it. Yeah, I'm going to try to see it either Monday or Tuesday before we record. Okay. And Eric's in town, so we're trying to go see it together. So I'm hoping it's either going to be probably Monday this next week. Luis has already seen it. You're going to go see it when?
As of right now, I have tickets for Friday.
Good boy.
My daughter is staying with my mum for the next 2 nights.
So
maybe I'll see if Sarah wants to go see it tomorrow night instead.
Do it. Okay.
But it's definitely a movie, like, rarely do I feel like this, but this feels like a movie I want to see it with a crowd.
Yeah.
On top of I'm trying to beat the spoilers too.
Yes. Oh my god, because the internet can't fucking help itself. I'm so mad.
I'm so what I've been given so far, I'm mad about. You know what I mean?
I get it, and you just want to go and watch it.
Exactly. Just like give it a moment to breathe, ladies and gentlemen.
We didn't talk about this for Twisters. Last little button, and then we're done. Okay.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the crowd at Twisters? I don't know about you. I had a crowd. Okay, it was full, and I've had a couple of movies in these last few weeks where I've gone and the crowd was full, and I love that. That's the summer season. But like the vibe was there. Like there was laughs, there were gasps. People were clearly into this movie. What was your theater like?
I went on a Tuesday night. A little slower, but like solid crowd. I don't think there were any vocal reactions, but I did feel the people, at least on my aisle, were into it.
Yeah. So there was, I can't remember the moment now. I'll remember it next time I watch it, but there was like a group of people that were laughing at one point, and I was like, wow, that joke really fucking landed. Let's fucking go. Okay.
Yeah. No, but several moments. In fact, there was a lady in the middle of my row who was having a great old time. I mean, it was a good vibe, generally speaking. So, again, I mean, that's also why I feel like Deadpool and Wolverine will be better with a crowd. Kind of like when you go see a comedy, you want to be in a room full of people who are laughing along with you.
Yeah.
As opposed to you being the only one laughing, kind of thing.
Oh, God.
So yeah, I'm hoping
Well, like I said, I'm going to see it probably right after the weekend, but I think it's still going to be on a high. I think it's still going to be a good show. Yeah.
Follow-up question.
Yes.
And I'm keeping it relevant.
Okay.
What do you think, here and now, what do you think this movie is going to make its opening weekend?
Deadpool?
Yeah. All right. To put it into some perspective for our audience.
Or worldwide?
Domestically, we're talking domestic in our...
It's going to make at least $200 million.
Domestic
weekend.
Opening?
Yeah, opening weekend, yes.
I disagree.
I don't give a shit. I fucking said what I said. Why did you even ask me? Okay.
Because it's fun. I want to see who's right at the end of
200 it. That's like I'll give you 2 beers. That's the new handshake bet.
Okay. I'm going 125 mil.
That's 200. So it's going to be over $200 million opening weekend domestic. So
all right.
I've already read that. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, I'll buy my ticket right now and I'll buy another one just to fuck you.
People be predicting, and then, when it comes out on the other side, it's like, Deadpool and Wolverine disappoints.
Politico is saying that Deadpool Wolverine is going to be ahead by 3 points.
And New York Times is just saying it's too old, it needs to drop out. So
no, I'm hearing good word of mouth. I think the first weekend is where it's going to land. I think the next weekend is where you're going to see that obvious drop off.
Like if it's not where people expect it to be, quality wise, then absolutely it's going to drop off.
So no, it's 200 million plus opening weekend domestic. So that's where I stand. Let's see.
I'll see you next weekend when I'm proving you wrong, you little bitch.
Fair enough. Okay. Guys, this has been Punch Drunk Nerd. I'm Miguel Sanchez. With me tonight is
Ed Bull.
And later, Gators. Okay.
Ta-ta.
Bye-bye. Hello.